The Devoncroft and IABM do an annual study showing that the broadcast industry is supported by around 3,000 vendors. Of those, a good 2/3 are under the $5 million revenue.
Yeah.
The thought that the majority of those are going to go bust, for me, will scupper this industry that requires small and agile companies.
Yeah.
I think, our case in particular, we started out wanting to be a unicorn, and through some pretty disastrous times, we've ended up being more of a cockroach, right? we'll end up surviving anything.
Devoncroft will be the first to tell you that consolidation is something that happens big in our business. And I think like a lot of these companies are actually well positioned to weather the storm. It's not like broadcasters are stopping producing content. If anything else, the longer this goes, the more creative ways we're going to see that content gets produced.
And if a bunch of tiny little companies die, you'll probably see a bunch of other tiny little companies just re-emerge with some of the same people, some of the new people, and the dynamism in the industry, I think, will still be there.
If you're an established vendor in the industry that's been around for a while, you're likely to have 50% plus of your revenues coming from maintenance. The other thing that Josh said in the podcast was we will see a reduction in the number of vendors in the industry for a while. I don't think that's true. For every company that doesn't survive the next couple of years, there'll be a new one that comes through because people will continue to innovate.
I think the business models just got greatly accelerated. I think that the way that people now have to adopt term model, SaaS model, containerized model, all of those different pieces mean that you've got a lot more ways to monetize what it is you're selling in the solution. And then the final ROI thing, we're being held to an ROI standard that everybody has to meet. You have to meet it right away.
I think the report, obviously, for me, is very US-centric. I also wonder, will some of the big companies survive? Companies that get sold off after being invested in because they weren't making their money. For me, the smaller companies, the more agile companies will survive.
There's been some terrible stuff this year. And the cost in terms of, human life and economic devastation is something you just can't get away from. If there's a positive coming out of it in our industry, all the stuff that for years we've been told doesn't work. You can't do it that way. You can't remote, can't do stuff in the cloud. We've proved that that's bullshit in 1 6-month period, and I'd like to say we're never going back on that. And I think that in many ways actually opens things up incredibly into an incredibly interesting place going forward.